Hello everyone, welcome to the weekly forecast again. On the gold we are looking for sales last weekly forecast. So in the monthly we still have this round liquidity, the same as the last weekly forecast. The monthly fair gap, we are targeting this monthly fair gap first, then we can look for continuation higher or disrespecting this monthly fair gap, then eventually continuing for lower prices or lower liquidity. So in the monthly, our bias is clear, our narrative is very clear. So let's dive into the weekly. In the weekly, as you can see, the last week candle closed in kind of bearish, but it do have a bullish week also. So in the weekly we don't have any fair gaps, so still we in the higher time frame we are still ranging, as you can see. So in the weekly it's nothing significant. So let's dive into daily. In the daily we still have just the same thing, just a barcode, just a consolidating price action in the weekly. So let me dive into all the way to 4 hour. So in the 4 hour, as you can see, the zone, the mitigation block, we are explaining, we are looking for continuation down in the last weekly forecast. As you can see, it did a nice continuation down from there, almost 500 pips. So in the last week we didn't look for any short opportunities until the Friday. So as you can see in the high time frames, we don't have any significant move after tapping this mitigation block. So that means our bias is bearish, so we don't look for buys. We can look for scalping buys, but our main target, our main bias is for bearish. So as you can see, we don't have any significant move, just small reactions. So we didn't try it for any sales last week. As you can see, the the first like in the first reaction after tapping our point of interest, we do have a rejection, but we don't have any failure gaps or nothing to work with. Then it went continuing higher without no volume, just consolidating, just went higher. So that means we still don't have any confirmation, I mean on the Friday. So on the Friday or on the Thursday. So on the Friday, as you can see, we do have a liquidity sweep, and we have this 15-minute value gap disrespecting or this 15-minute manipulation gap. Then it created new value gap, and we do have a sting into this value gap. As you can see, let me zoom it, we do have sting into this value gap. So if we dive into the 5-minute, in the 5-minute the price action is very clear, and our bias is bearish, our bias is very clear. So as you can see, we did take a trade from this value gap covering this short-term high or intermediate high on the 5 minutes. So eventually our target was not too far because it was Friday. We can target this liquidity at least, because our high time frame bias is bearish, but because of its Friday, I only target this one off value gap. As you can see, this one off value gap was our first target, and I closed all the profits, and we close all the profits from there. It's almost 4 hour, just in 20 minutes or 15 minutes. As you can see, that's why I'm always saying we should have to trade high probability conditions. No pressure, no pushing trade, no rushing for trades, a quick time, easy money, no pressure. That's what a good psychology, that's what a good risk management, and that's what all about trading. So hope you get it. So we do have, let's dive into the weekly forecast again. We do have a nice rejection from last weekly forecast point of interest. So as you can see, we do have the same thing happening again, right? So we have the same thing. As you can see, in the hindsight, these both two zones are very similar from the hindsight, right? Order block or bearish candles pushing price higher, then it came down again. I'm just explaining simply, right? So as you can see in here also happening the same thing. In the hindsight it's just the same thing, right? Just it's very simple and it's very same, right? It continuing higher, went down. So in here it's the same thing. So as simply for the last week we have this rejection almost 500 pips from the mitigation block. So for the next week our sorry, our point of interest is this mitigation block, and our target is our higher time frame bias in monthly is targeting the monthly bullish imbalance or busy, right? So for the next week I'm looking for sales from this mitigation block targeting eventually this liquidity, and our main target is 2277 targeting this monthly value gap, right? So let me explain what happened here quickly. If market needs to continue higher from this area, we have our first line of defense, this value gap, our first line of defense, our flood. Then we have here the line, then we have our overlapping defense, order block overlapping, or the high overlapping with the value gap. So this is our overlapping defense. So our last line of defense is this short low on the 4 hour. As you can see, we have a close below with a very high momentum of our last line of defense. So we don't have any defense, or simply we don't have any resistance to continue higher. So our bias is also bearish in the high time zone. So I'm looking for this week, I'm looking very closely with the fundamentals, right? So why I'm saying like this, because in the high time frame it's still ranging or still consolidation, but this area might be very high probability for continuing clearing this liquidity and eventually targeting this monthly value gap, right? Hope this is very clear. So as you can see, as I said, we should trade these high probability conditions with the higher time frame narrative, bias, narrative, context, is everything is inside this trade. As you can see, uh, very and low resistance liquidity. So we should always trade low resistance liquidity. One trade per week is enough sometimes, you know. It's just about the psychology and the risk management. So in the as a summary, in this week we are looking for continuation sales as our high time frame bias, and our narrative is this far failure gaps. So as you can see, if you enter a trade, we should have let's go something different, not related to the weekly forecast bias. Then we should have narrative, we should have a context, when we should have entry, right? So these four things is very important to execute a trade. So hope it's very clear. And in the weekly forecast we are looking for sales this week from this mitigation block. So feel free to subscribe if it's important to you. Feel free to subscribe and push the bell icon. Have a nice weekend, folks. See ya in the next week.